Brooklyn was the city. It'd be the fourth biggest city in the United States. I mean, Brooklyn's huge. And the Bronx is the only landlocked borough. The
Wow.
Bronx.
See,
The other boroughs, Staten Island, Manhattan,
yeah,
all surrounded by water.
I never knew that.
Yeah, Bronx was a great place back then. I mean, now, if you watch Escape from the Bronx and everything, those movies, Bronx got bad for a while, but, it made a comeback when Bill Clinton put his office there in Harlem. That's all it took. All of a sudden, billions of dollars started
So now,
flowing in.
what would define Harlem as part of the Bronx?
Yeah, I mean, certain parts. I mean, if you took the 3rd Avenue L, which is no longer there, they ripped it down, and you would take that to 149th Street. We considered that the start of Harlem, which Harlem probably would be a little bit further down, but we would never go past that street. I mean, Yankee Stadium was a dangerous area in itself at night. I mean, you could go in the day, but at night, if you went to the Yankee Stadium and if there wasn't a game going on and you went to that neighborhood at night, you were going into a very dangerous neighborhood back then.
So you're bound to see gang
crime. We weren't looking for trouble. I mean, we stayed, we weren't looking for trouble. I mean, if
you ever see the gang movie called The Warriors?
I think I saw that years
violent,
ago.
Man.
Yeah, but they made the movie A Bronx Tale, and that's about Arthur Avenue. And that's with Chas Palminteri. And Chas Palminteri still hangs around there. You know who he is, right? A Bronx Tale. If I show you,
come on, remember they're 20 years apart between you.
Yeah,
and
but you would know him if you saw a picture of him. And Chas Palminteri is famous for that. A Bronx Tale. He still has to play on Broadway, and he became rich only with that one story.
What? Are he still acting in it? No way.
Well,
at that age? Are you kidding me?
He still acts. He still does some acting. But when I had the store, he wasn't a professional actor, but he used to teach acting. He had an acting studio around the corner from my store. Wow. On top of the supermarket. You had an acting studio, you had a little karate school, another guy.
And where did you physically live? Right on the
Well, his mother and him used to live right on Arthur Avenue.
And you lived in a row home, or did you live in a condo, or?
Oh, there was no condos.
Your personal residence. Where do you?
When I lived in the Bronx, there was no such thing as condos. A lot of those buildings were originally cold water flats. They were so old. Those apartment buildings. Guess where the bathtub was?
No.
In the kitchen.
No way.
And nobody locked their door. You could be taking a bath, and the neighbor would just walk in, and you'd be in the bathtub. And they'd walk in, and there you are in the bathtub.
And it was like that because of the plumbing.
Yeah, they were cold water flats originally. Then when they put boilers in them and everything, they didn't rearrange. There was no bathroom. All there was a box. Like you see in the movie The Godfather, when you see him walk into the bathroom to get the gun to shoot the two guys at the table.
Yeah.
That's what the bathroom looked like. It was just the door with the box was on top, and you pulled the chain.
No way.
That's what's there. The water would come from up to down. And the thing is, when we were kids,
it was rainwater up there.
That's right. Well, yeah, that's where the water would come, and now you have it, right there, all in one. But back then, the way the plumbing was, there was a box, and they still had ice boxes back then. Some people still had ice boxes. They weren't electric. The iceman would come and put the chunk of ice
in there.
But, when we were kids, when you went to the bathroom when you were a little kid, they'd say, don't forget to pull the chain. And we'd say, what chain? When we were in our own apartment. There was no chain. Then they had the newer plumbing. And me and my brother would say, but what are they talking about, pull the chain? Because you used to have a chain the old way.
Yeah.
So, it was interesting life growing up in the Bronx. And there was no such thing as a condo. It was an apartment. You had an apartment. So you had a one-bedroom apartment or a two-bedroom apartment or a three-bedroom apartment. If you were lucky, three-bedroom apartments were hard to get.
Yeah.
Because back then they used to have 10 kids.
Yeah.
So three-bedroom apartment. Nobody had, how many people could afford a three-bedroom apartment? Three-bedroom apartment then would be $75 or $80 a month.
Big money.
Big money. If you go back into the 50s, that's what a guy made a week. $75.
And they're mostly rental apartments, or they would have owners that would rent to you?
No, they were all rentals. And the only way that you could get an apartment was you'd have to pay off the super.
To get into the line.
Yeah,
right?
It's not like now you buy an apartment. They was buy an apartment. If you went up to somebody and said, I want to buy an apartment, they say, what the heck are you talking about? You got to buy the whole building. You can't just buy one apartment. They didn't know the concept of that. I don't even think it existed in the 50s or 60s condos back then, did they?
You know what? I'd like to research that because it's a great real estate question, but
yeah, I don't think it even existed.
We're slowly regressing back into a tenancy society because people just can't afford mortgages anymore, and people don't want to take the insurance liability and the storms that come through and the rainstorms and the plumbing.
That's right.
Life is getting so expensive that we're going back to Tennessee.
That's right. That's
how
why
the-
apartments are becoming expensive again.
Yes.
The rent-
Look at the rent in South
That's
Florida.
right. That's right.
After the shot in 2003 to 2005, that collapse of the financial market, people have been renting ever since, and they don't even desire to own. Why? Sure, there's instability of not being renewed in your condo, but at the same time, you have the flexibility to get the hell out of Dodge if things get too expensive. And
That's right.
You're not leaving a trail of tears. Like there's people right now who are going to be hit and delayed from selling because of this little storm here. Who the hell wants to buy real estate right now?
That's right.
You know, when the storm's hurting like that. On the Key, it's even frozen. There's
Right.
about 50, 60 units for sale right now in the housing. And who the hell's going to buy a house right now? Unless
Nobody.
these prices starts dipping. Same with downtown Miami. There's that brand new stuff. Oh my God, there's thousands for sale. And it's the 2005, 2008 collapse all over again.
Oh,
I see it
2008
coming.
was terrible.
And my fear is that Janet Yellen just takes the interest rate just 2 times, 3 times of a quarter point only, enough to freeze the entire development business. And that could be Trump's first reception. That partying that he's doing right now with the stock market at record highs. I fear for it slowing down right here at the end, and these 2 storms could have been what starts it all. And guess what? People, the rents will just keep on going higher. Remember the condo fees, the real estate taxes.
Forget about it.
The government now has to start increasing taxes because they got to pay for their they're inefficiently spending money as we speak. You can tell by the development in downtown alone, the access ways to these expressways have not been widened.
Right.
So expect the traffic jam, Manhattan-style traffic jams. So the real genius is Uber. Because of Uber, that Uber will just gonna keep on going up in value because people are not even going to buy cars eventually. They're just going to be like Manhattan. You can live in Manhattan without a car for certain.
Oh, you can't have a car in Manhattan.
Yeah, there's nowhere to park.
It costs you more to park it in a lot than what people pay for rent. It's ridiculous. You got to see the monthly rate to keep a car in Manhattan.
Must be.
In fact, I did a stupid thing one year. One year I went to the food show, and then we're talking about 2004, 2005. And, you used to be able to park the car there. It's all the way on the west side, 11th Street to Travis. And, it used to be $25 to park the car. And one year, I was going to New York, and I told my, I have brothers there and everything. And my brother said, don't rent no car. He goes, I'm going to lend you one of my cars. So this brother that I'm talking about, you didn't really want to borrow anything of his. Because if you didn't bring it back in the same exact condition that it was in, he would notice even, a chip of dirt on it or something. So I said, Steve, I said, I love you.
No, he just outed you, Steve. He just outed you.
I said, maybe I had better off renting a car. No, I don't use this car. You could use it. So anyway, he picks me up at the airport. I drive him home. We spend the night together, him and his wife. We have dinner, this and that, beep, 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 bop. And the next day I take the car. And I go over to the Javits, and the parking is $100. So I said, what are these people, crazy? So I drive back to the east side where I used to work. I used to manage the store Tadaro Brothers, and I used to have this one parking space that I used to park in all the time.
Oh my
So I
God.
went in, and the manager that was there was a good friend of mine, the new manager that took my place, and I said, Phil, I'm going to park my car where I used to park. I said, so it's there. He said, yeah, don't worry about it. So then I took a cab to the Javits, and the cab was $5. So I said, look at this. I saved $95 just like that, So when I come back, there's no car. So I said, well, what happened to the car? So I go in, and I said, Phil, my car's not there. He goes, where'd you park? I said, I told you. I parked where I always parked. He goes, I forgot to tell you they made that a bus stop.
Oh,
man.
man.
I said, you forgot to tell me? So I said, so what does that mean? He goes, they towed it probably.
Wow.
So I said, well, how do I never had this happen. To make a long story short, my whole family was waiting for me in New Rochelle, and they were having a big dinner. And here I am in Manhattan. I can't even get my brother's car out of the place. It was the most horrific night I ever had in my life.
And he's still reminding you of it now because he's your famous Steve brother.
I didn't want to call him to tell him the car got towed, so I headed right over there to the place, and it ended up costing me $300.
$300.
But the thing is, they wanted to see the registration. He never gave me the registration. So now I'm only taking it for granted that the registration's in the glove compartment. So I'm telling the woman the registration's in the glove compartment. I'm only guessing.
Yeah.
You know, knowing my brother, I figured it's in the glove compartment. She said, then you have to wait for a guard to come out and bring you into the parking area. So I was there for 3 hours. Finally, I had to call them, you know, because they were waiting for me. You know, the dinner was at 7 o'clock. I found out the car was towed at 5 o'clock. So I had to call them up and say, your car got towed. And this is 10 years ago. I still hear about it.
What was the first thing he said?
Just
yeah,
silence.
No,
there was just silence.
Oh, quiet. That's murder.
And, you know, he thought he wanted to see if I was joking.
Right.
And I says, I'm not joking.
I'm not joking.
I would have been there already.
He goes,
He goes, well, how does the car get towed? I says, they come with a tow truck and tow it. You know, I just couldn't answer these questions.
yeah.
You know, so, I mean, you know, parking is ridiculous, man.
Now,
The bottom
New
line
Rochelle is how close to where you live? I don't know. Give me the geographics.
No. Actually, where my uncle had his store, 241st Street and White Plains Road, would have been the end of the Bronx. If you walked one block down, it would have started Mount Vernon and then New Rochelle.
Oh, okay.
So it went like that. It went Bronx. If you were on that side of the Bronx. If you were on the other side of the Bronx, then you would go over the 27th Street Bridge and you would end up in Manhattan. So it was just going over a little bridge, and you went from the Bronx to 27th Street in Manhattan, which is one of the reasons that I stopped going to Marvin Hamlish's father for music lessons. My father was very strict, and they lived by the planetarium, and it was only one stop, one train. You took the D train from the Bronx, and it took you right there. But Marvin Hamlish's father used to walk me to the train station and put me on the train. And the train was 15 cents back then. Jeez, imagine 15 cents.
15 cents.
But what happened is,
bubblegum for that.
What happens, I had a friend that wanted to take lessons there too. So the mother was telling me, you know, take him. So he took him for student also. So we both went there together. But we didn't know that coming back, that there was two different train lines. So the last stop on the Bronx line was to 5th Street. So we're playing. When the train doors open, we would run out of the train doors and run around and get in the next train.